You're a Christian pastor, unlicensed counselor that does unlicensed counseling.
Correct. Yeah, I do biblical counseling.
Biblical unlicensed counseling.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So, from the pastor that you are, how much Jesus should I pour on my problems before I consider therapy or drugs?
Okay. Like, what kind of drugs are we talking about here, Nate?
Not real drugs, like
Okay.
good drugs. Or not good drugs. No drugs are good. I don't know. Before I start taking psychological medicine.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Like how far can Jesus take me until I need to go to the therapist?
Oh, I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, without question, like even there's stats that show that people that have religion are typically able to work through problems, issues more effectively.
Any religion?
I think it's pretty much anyone that believes in a God and a higher power. They typically are able to walk through things because they believe they're not simply dependent on their own strength or their own counsel. There's some being that's helping them.
Okay.
So, and then obviously as a Christian, there's obviously the fact that, when you worship, when you pray, when you're in community together, when you're reading the word, we believe all those things can be transformative for an individual. So they can bring healing, they can bring wholeness, even things like discipleship and deliverance, all of those things can be part of the healing process.
Okay.
But there are things that are, whether it's trauma or whether it's just grief that you just can't move beyond and move past. And when I say grief that can't move beyond, move past, I mean like it's 3 to 5 years and you're still in an intense place of grief. Then therapy can be very healthy. And I'm not saying you have to wait 3 to 5 years to decide that. I'm just saying that when there's intense grief, or when there's like trauma, abuse, that I think talking to a therapist is really helpful. Okay. So on those levels. And those are kind of like obviously the deeper issues, or if you're just always filled with anxiety and, you're praying every day, and I know people who've done this, like they're praying every day, they're in the word every day or most days, and yet they still are struggling with anxiety. Okay, let's figure out the root of that anxiety. Okay. And so a therapist may be very helpful for that. And then on like just a more kind of a practical level, and we may phrase this more in the word of the counseling world, but like if you're needing to talk to someone about how to communicate more effectively with your spouse, how to make a decision on a parenting issue, those are places to go for counseling as well. And so I think that, I guess what I'm saying is I think there's a place to be like I don't think you're just like throwing Jesus on something. I'm walking my life out as a Christian. I realize I need something a little more specific in helping to deal with these emotional or mental things that I'm having, or just life issues that I'm having. And I need another voice to help me process or to help guide me through those things that I think can be really helpful.
So if someone came up to you, and if a non-Christian came up to you and was suffering, they told you they were having depression, would you first recommend them to a Christian therapist, or would you first tell them to become a Christian and do Jesus things?
Okay. So they're a Christian coming to me?
No, a non-Christian.
They're a non-Christian coming to me. No, they're dealing with depression.
Yes.
Yeah. Then and if I talk,
they just say they're dealing with depression, would you first say, "Hey, let's read the Bible and get you all Christianed up," or would you send them to a Christian therapist?
No, I think going to a Christian therapist would be the step I would take. If it's like genuine, like clinical depression.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the people who say that Jesus is the answer to all of these problems.
Right.
What's that about? Is that true?
Sure.
And again, I feel like I lean that direction because I don't like therapy.
I know.
Anything other than therapy is better than therapy.
So you're kind of the viewpoint of anything, any alternative.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. No,
alcoholism,
no,
drug abuse.
Right. Better than therapy.
Hooking, all of it. Better than therapy.
Those are terrible. No, don't listen to Nate. Oh God. No, I would. What was the question again?
I'm half kidding.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. All right, so
the people who say that
Jesus is enough.
That Jesus is enough, and you shouldn't have to go to a therapist.
Right. Basically. No, I disagree with that.
Okay.
Completely.
Why?
Because I think Jesus uses counselors. Jesus uses therapists in the same way that Jesus uses medical doctors for things that we deal with in our own physical bodies.
Oh,
I mean, if we believe Jesus is a healer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we say, well, if you have any emotional healing or mental healing that you need to go through, Jesus can take care of that. But, hey, if there's physical healings you need, go see a doctor.
Okay.
I think you have to be consistent. And so I think the consistency lies in the fact of, no, there are times where we actually need someone that's a trained therapist, trained counselor to help guide us through a process of healing that I think the Lord can actually use them for that, so that we don't have to remain in a state of anxiety or a state of depression or in a state of real deep sorrow or grief or those kind of things.